Hi, Dominic. My name is Ellen, and I will be correcting this essay for you today. The first thing that I want to say right off the bat is congratulations on your scores. They're excellent. So I'm sure you should be very proud and very happy with those scores. Although I understand that you need an 8, or you would like an 8 in all the criteria. As a former examiner, I have to say that this is exciting for me because it's nice to see such a high level candidate, and I'm really looking forward to see how we can help you get from that 7 in writing to an 8. So why don't we take a look at your essay and see what you wrote here? The topic is about robots, important or negative effect. Let's see what you wrote. Some people praise the onset of the fourth machine age and the rise of automation through advanced robots, whereas others fear the negative effect of robots on the current social structures. The impact of highly developed autonomous machines on our society is far reaching, and therefore I will discuss the advantages and disadvantages thereof on the example of the labor market. Okay, so the first thing that you can see right away when reading this is that you have very advanced vocabulary and your grammar is accurate. So there's no question about those two things. I will tell you a couple of things though that I see that are definitely keeping you from getting an 8. Just in this introduction, it's only 5 lines long, but yet I can still see some things that may be keeping you from getting an 8. Let's talk about the most important one, at least for me. Look at the command here. As you probably know, every IELTS essay has either a question or a command. And when I say command, I mean something that they're directing you to do. If you've studied the band descriptors at all, you'll notice that at band 7 and higher, it says presents a clear position throughout the response. So let's kind of break that down to see what that means. Your position is your answer to whatever that question or command is. Here, this is the command right here. So presents a clear position. And then the next keyword is throughout the response. Throughout means from the beginning to the end. So what can we interpret from reading this section of the band descriptors? It means that they want to know your answer to the question or the command from the beginning of your essay all through the end. It should be clear. There shouldn't be any questions. So let's see how you did with that. Now that's a base thing you need if you want to get a band 7. So of course, if you're aiming for a band 8, you have to do that, and you have to do all the other things required for a band 8. Let's see what you said. You said it's far reaching, the effect is far reaching, but you haven't told us if they're important or if they're negative. We don't know. And then you say, I will discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So still, we don't know if you think they have negative effects or if they're important. So just on that alone, an examiner who really pays attention, who really is a stickler for this kind of thing, would say, no, if I don't know what the position is, and if I have to wait until the conclusion to know what the position is, and that's a band 6 for task achievement. Pretty surprising, right? Well, yeah, it can happen. And I've seen some excellently well written essays get a band 6 in task achievement for this reason, because it just wasn't clear. And so the examiner is reading through the entire essay and doesn't know where the essay is going until that conclusion. And an examiner does not want that. The examiner wants this kind of solved and kind of broken down in the introduction. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to talk to you about. The second thing I want to talk to you about is some of your vocabulary. What we find at sometimes like a band 7 is that there is a lack of precision. Okay, there may be some really good vocabulary, but it's not precise vocabulary. And that's what I have found here. You've used some nice words, but they don't always feel like the most natural choice. And you'll find that higher level, meaning band 8, band 9, sometimes they use rather simple vocabulary, but the key is that it's precise. You know, we don't run around using high level words like, for example, highly developed autonomous machines, all day long, not even when we write. So I want you to keep that in mind. Sometimes the best choice for your essay is actually the simplest choice because that's the most natural. All right. And when you're aiming for band 8 or maybe even higher, you're looking for that. You're looking for precision and you're looking for natural. So that's the second thing that's important. Then I want to talk to you a little more about this sentence. The impact of highly developed autonomous machines on our society is far reaching, and therefore I will discuss. I didn't really feel like you needed that. It felt a little unnatural. Okay, and therefore I will discuss. No, it's not. One is not the logical kind of consequence of the other. Which so I didn't feel like therefore was your best choice here. Okay. But more importantly is what I said in the beginning, which is that you didn't really tell us this, your opinion. Okay. And I also didn't understand this on the example of the labor market. That felt very strange to me. I also don't know why you are specifically centering just on the labor market when it has not given you this kind of limitation. Future development, negative effects on society. So it sounds to me, just reading this, that you may focus just on the workplace, which is not a good idea because the essay does not limit you to that. Therefore, you should not limit yourself to that. Okay, I spent a ton of time talking about this introduction, but basically because I know the score you said you need, I want to give you this kind of level of detail. Anyway, let's continue. Let's see what you wrote in your body paragraphs. A lot of people are currently concerned. Here I wanted a comma, if not afraid, comma, about the introduction of machines driven by artificial intelligence into the current job market. There it is, job market. This is your introductory sentence, okay? It's your topic sentence. And so it should give us a clear idea of what the main idea of the paragraph is. But already I'm concerned. It just kind of underlines my previous concern about you focusing just on the job market, okay? So I would have done this. A lot of people are currently concerned, if not afraid, about the introductions of machines driven by artificial intelligence, period. That's it. As it is so often the case with disruptive technologies, their implementation is usually used to reduce cost. In that attempt, comma, a lot of industries tend to replace low-skilled workers with machines. During the first industrial revolution, steam engines were utilized to power looms instead of workers using their muscles. Nowadays, for example, AI-driven robots staff entire warehouses and replace a formerly numerous labor force, which usually consisted of relatively low-skilled workers. This development can be frightening for some. All right, I love that you wrapped it up with this last sentence. That was good. Although I did kind of wonder where you were taking me. So I felt like, yes, good grammar, good vocabulary, a couple of mistakes with punctuation that I would like you to avoid. Okay. But I do want to read it to kind of see how good the coherence and cohesion was, and also how much you answered the question. So let me give it one more read through. Okay, the first thing that I thought about when I read this is you're telling me why this is happening. So it's kind of like when I read it, I almost felt like you were answering a different question. It was kind of like many people are concerned about the implementation of robots in the workplace. Why is this happening? Is it a positive or negative positive or negative situation? Okay. And I felt like you were explaining the whys here, which is not really what they asked you to do. So let's review the question again. They have negative effects on society. So that's what you want to focus on. So here you were telling me the whys. When you started talking about reducing cost, and then you talked about replacing low-skilled workers, and then you use the example of the Industrial Revolution. So I felt like you weren't entirely on topic. At least you weren't on topic as much as you should have been for a band 8. Okay, so to give you an idea about what this could have looked like, let me see. Robots have a negative effect on society. Okay, well, let's see. What are the negative effects on society? Well, obviously, we have, a lot of unskilled workers who are unemployed. So this creates, perhaps a couple of things. Number one, creates a huge wage gap where you've got, or maybe like a huge gap between like the higher classes and like the lower classes, lower economic classes. You have a lot more poverty because maybe some people cannot get jobs because they've been replaced. Okay, and so you have a real shift in the economy, which could be very detrimental, and it could be some sort of, bubbling cauldron ready to explode. Okay, so that's something you could have talked about. So, yes, the loss of jobs, but what does this mean in terms of society? Okay, so does that make sense? I feel like you didn't really get to that. You were talking about the whys rather than the effect on society. Remember, that's what the question is asked, the negative effect on society. What else could a negative effect on society be here? Well, maybe it kind of dehumanizes us. Maybe we're so used to interacting with machines and robots and so forth for anything like when you're online you need customer service, or even at the checkout, like everything is machines. We lose this kind of human touch that makes our interactions meaningful, and maybe a deeper level, or makes us feel less isolated. So what happens as a result of machines taking over all these jobs is we end up all feeling rather isolated because we don't interact with humans as much. Instead, we're interacting with machines. So these are the kinds of things you could have talked about, just to give you ideas about what would have been on topic and how you could have talked about them. Okay? All right, let's keep going. On the other hand, there are people who profit hugely from AI-based assistance. Okay. If one thinks about a computer program who can delegate repetitive tasks to an algorithm like Chat GPT, or use other tools of that sort to proofread existing code, this individual is now able, due to the power of AI, to focus on solving more complex tasks. Okay, society. So far, you're just talking about a programmer. I want to know about society, right? Okay. Even coming up with new creative solutions to old lingering problems is consequently more possible because less time needs to be spent on grunt work, and the full potential of the human brain power with its capability for creative thinking and problem solving can be unleashed. All right, beautifully written. The language, the grammar, the vocabulary, it's all fantastic. Unfortunately, again, the scope is kind of limited. You're really talking about the workforce. You're not talking about humans' future development. All right. What does this mean for mankind as we move forward? That's what they're asking to talk about. And like I said, it was a red flag for me when you said this thing about the labor market, but that's just now been underlined that, this isn't really entirely on topic. So I could see how an examiner could very, very easily give you eights, maybe even nines for some of that vocabulary and some of that grammar, but would be really in a very difficult position to give you a band 7 for a task achievement. Okay, keep that in mind. You may be getting scores like this when you're taking the exam. Let's keep going. However, considering both ends of the societal spectrum, it remains unclear if the new machine age will be a blessing or a curse. Now, this is the first time you're addressing what your kind of opinion here. You still haven't told us, right? So as an examiner, I'm thinking, all right, well, where's Dominick's position here? The outcome lies within our own hands, and a national, if not worldwide, discussion needs to take place to ensure a humanitarian approach towards the situation of the less fortunate. A solution for this situation will only be accepted if all stakeholders participate in the discussion and their concerns are heard and equally valued. All right, there's still no mention of your position. It's all very neutral. I, for myself, am looking forward to the new possibilities emerging from this new technology, but one needs to stay vigilant and informed to not be swept away by the incoming AI power disruptor wave. Okay. First of all, I want to mention that I can see that this is your conclusion. Don't forget to leave a line here. You've been really consistent about leaving a space, like an entire line between each paragraph. Here you did not. And so the examiner is going to say, okay, well, what does the candidate mean to do here? Is this supposed to be a new paragraph or is it not? So it's a little confusing. You don't want to mess up your paragraphing, especially at the score you want to get to. So it sounds like from what I gathered here from this last paragraph is that you think you're looking forward to it. You say, yeah, I think it's exciting, and so forth. This is the first time we have your opinion. Okay. So keep in mind what I said about the scoring and how you need to have your position clear from the beginning. Okay. So I'm just going to reiterate what I said earlier, which is I think that your vocabulary, your grammar, all of that is really, really wonderful. I don't have any concerns about coherence and cohesion insofar as linking devices and the way your ideas are linked lexically. I don't have any problems with that. I didn't notice anything that was maybe this you could have avoided on the other hand, simply because you didn't have it on the one hand. So that was fine. Like I said, I definitely see you getting very high scores for grammar, vocabulary, and for coherence and cohesion. For me, the missing link here is task achievement. Okay, with your failure to mention your position here, and then we didn't really know where you stood until that last like 3-line paragraph. Okay. And then also, I didn't feel like you answered the question the way they asked you to. You focused very specifically on the labor market. They did not ask you to do that. And so you really kind of put yourself in a weird position with this. You limited a topic that could have been very broad. Remember, it's talking very broadly about society and, mankind in the future. And you didn't really do that. So that's where I think you are. I would love to see more writing from you. I would love to see what you're doing on other topics. I absolutely want to see what you're doing on task one. Although definitely I want to see more of your task twos. So if you're interested in working with us and you found this feedback helpful, then let's see how we can get you to maybe write some more essays. There's essay correction packages that you can look at. They'll be attached to this email. It says different ways to work with us. And I hope we can do that because I'm sure that we can help get you to where you need to be. Okay? So thanks for sending this and good luck to you.